What is going on, YouTube? This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review the second mixtape by Pop Smoke. Basically, this project is called Meet the Woo Volume 2, and it came out in the winter of 2020. Now, this is the final project that Pop Smoke put out in his lifetime. It came out just a few weeks before his death, and the situation about it was this is a pretty heralded mixtape. I definitely see the quality in it. This one, along with like the Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon project that was executive produced by 50 Cent, were two large moments for Pop Smoke, both of which were pretty damn excellent, just did a lot of damage. But I wanted to get back to this just because really when Pop Smoke was briefly around between mid 2019 and early 2020, I just didn't really catch the vibe of him that much. It's not to say I didn't fuck with him like I didn't like him, but I just didn't, I was messing with other things in music at the time. But I do kind of remember like the song that Pop Smoke did with Travis Scott in late 2019. It's off the Jack Boys. It's off the Jack Boys album. I think it's called like Gotti or something like that. And it's a pretty dope song. Definitely recommend that one. But that's about the only it's really about the only dab of Pop Smoke I messed with at the time. But just to be able to say I do like this particular project quite a bit. It's actually going to get a rather high score. I would have to say there's a lot of good gems on here. And the fact of the matter is the thing I noticed about drill music, I think apart from like maybe a couple folks like maybe Chief Keef and like Lil Reese and some of those type cats, I feel like Pop Smoke was just the headliner and this overall front runner for drill music as far as that kind of went, especially for like New York drill. I just kind of feel like the concept, he had so much going on, and it's just the factoid of just being able to say that he was not able to flesh out this subgenre as well as he needed to, just because really I feel like Christopher Walking is a great song, and that's definitely an excellent one. But there needed to be more songs like it to kind of get the sound developed and just be able to see what's kind of going on. Because Pop Smoke, really a year before this project came out, Meet the Woo Volume 2, there really wasn't any projects by Pop Smoke out. Like Meet the Woo Volume 1 came out in the summer of 2019. So it really, Pop Smoke's run had really only been within about 6 or 8 months or 10 months or something like that. It just was very short-winded and that type of stuff. I would have to say it's really interesting seeing some of the stuff. I mean, 5EO4 is on here, and there's some other cats that were kind of messing with drill around the time. But there's a lot of trap on here that's kind of more oriented towards that. So I just feel like definitely, I think if Pop Smoke had developed an album and put out like, I read on Wikipedia that he was supposed to have like a series of mixtapes before he wound up dropping his full blown album. And I think that this was not the end of the series. I think there probably would have been a Meet the Woo Volume 3 and then possibly like an EP or something like that. I don't know if there would have full blown been an EP, but I think there would have at least been a third volume of Meet the Woo before the album would have come out, and it probably would have come out like the fall of 2020, something like that. I would definitely said I think Pop Smoke probably would have had a bunch of Liddy songs just to decorate the summer, went on tour and that type of stuff as he was planning to go on and America and Europe in like the winter of 2020 as far as that kind of went. But that's just kind of the concept about it. There is some good gems on here, and I do definitely feel like for the brief taste of what you get of just being able to see what happened with drill music, I think there's enough amalgamated songs on here to kind of see the orientation of the picture that Pop Smoke was trying to paint, but it just was not a complete one. That's just kind of the concept. I just think definitely with him basically only having been around for about 8.5 or 9 months as far as that kind of went. It just was not enough to really get his full-blown career kind of established. I mean, it's a good project, but it just was so short-winded. That's kind of the thing about it. But so to kind of talk about the singles on here, I'm reviewing the deluxe edition. So I'm going to review the deluxe edition of this project that has 16 songs on here. So the first single is Christopher Walking. This is a glossy night out gem, kind of in the midst of a quick night. Kind of in the midst of quick night fare, I would say, and it's just a very litty song. This is kind of more watered down than most Pop Smoke kind of drill records. Like I feel like Travis Scott's Gotti that he's on with him is probably a better, more pounding one. And I feel like Dior is probably a little bit more litty, and there's some other ones on here like Shake the Room and Get Back and Foreigner that are just a little bit more pounding. But definitely for something that was just kind of like a vanilla and kind of tapioca kind of drill record for what was supposed to flesh out like the sound and the subgenre as far as that kind of went. This is a good example of that. This is probably like the most commercial kind of drill record I think I've heard as far as like the sound that Pop Smoke was initially trying to do. It's just a good vanilla one to kind of get. It's probably the easiest one to kind of think as far as its palatable. Probably the easiest one as far as it being palatable to kind of digest as far as that kind of goes. Just a definite dope one. It's real kind of litty vehicle type vibes just for stepping out and stunting and that type stuff. The second single is Shake the Room, and this has Quavo on there, Quavo from Migos. So this is a pretty dope, ethereal city night flash of a song, I would say. It's an easy pounding stunt bop, I would definitely have to say, and it's a good single. I feel like Shake the Room is probably the better song compared to Christopher Walken, where I feel like Christopher Walken's more vanilla kind of drill. I feel like this one's a little bit more definite, more of a ripper, and just kind of an overall one that just has an extreme time. This is definitely, I love the ethereal type vibes of this particular beat on here. It's just a very emphatic type song that just works extremely well. This is the sort of stuff. Now, Pop Smoke didn't live to see this single get released, which is really too bad because I think this was very much a dope song that could have initiated him a lot further. Maybe it just would have been underground, but I think these would have definitely been some bubblers to kind of get the noise being talked about and get him the buzz to where he starts becoming more of a household name. This is definitely one of the album's best songs, I would have to say. So yeah, on this deluxe edition, there's 16 songs. Out of those 16 songs, I wound up recommending 10 and a half. So that's basically, so I'll go ahead and recommend those 10 and a half songs. So the 10 and a half songs would be Christopher Walken, Shake the Room, Get Back, Foreigner, Element, Armed and Dangerous, Dreaming, She Got a Thing, Wolves, Like Me, and the Almost song is Dior. And the reason why Dior is kind of the Almost song is because this is already on Meet the Woo Volume 1, and it's also on Pop Smoke's album Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon. So this is kind of one. This is talk about Dior real quick. Just kind of talk about Dior real quick. This is kind of a vintage Pop Smoke song, I would say. It's a litty kind of stunt and vehicle cruiser, I would definitely have to say, and it's got lots of flash and appeal. So this is just kind of one. This is like a vintage, just typical kind of stock Pop Smoke song as far as that kind of goes. One of his just factory kind of ones like 50 cents in the club or candy shop, something like that. Just a stock and factory kind of Pop Smoke. It's kind of a stock and factory Pop Smoke song to kind of have and such. That's a good one. She Got a Thing is a pretty nice one. This is a boppish kind of dance club record for chicas. I would definitely say it's a good Instagram cut and it's just a jovial time. So this one's kind of like a strip club bop, just a kind of nice bouncy one to kind of have for some bays, just kind of twerking, dancing, that type of stuff. Just a good song to kind of just be flirty and that type of stuff. As far as this kind of good jovial one for just a good atmosphere to kind of have, just real lighthearted and just kind of boppish. Probably, I mean, Pop Smoke's a pretty grim individual, and for the most part, he typically has like this haunting kind of drill records and sometimes like the more summery R&B trap, but he does kind of have like a boppish kind of Instagram type cut with She Got a Thing. So that's a nice one. Another one that's good, I definitely recommend getting the deluxe edition, especially if you can find it on CD. I would get the deluxe edition of Meet the Woo Volume 2 because Wolves with Nav is a pretty excellent one. This is a grim, kind of ghostly, elegant bop, I would say, and it has bump. I definitely feel like definitely a good knocking one, I would say. And it's a good variety. It's a good varietized album cut, and it's different, but it works well. So this is probably one of the most grim songs in the album. This one just has a real kind of ghastly type feel about it that I definitely enjoyed. Yeah, Wolves definitely has some of that knock on the song that's kind of a grim and ghostly type song. So I definitely like that. And then Like Me with PNB Rock. This is Like Me is an excellent one. This has PNB Rock on here. This is a breezy kind of day commerce bop for the ladies from Pop Smoke. I would have to say it's Trap and B, which is kind of trap R&B. If you didn't, yeah, it's Trap and B, which is kind of trap R&B stuff, and it's just a trendy song with some charm. So this is the kind of stuff. These are the sorts of songs that 50 Cent would pull out of the hat when he would do songs like Just a Little Bit and some of those type ones, just some good summary type feels as far as that's kind of concerned. Like What You Know About Love is probably one of Pop Smoke's defining songs as far as like a ladies pop. But this is kind of a good follow up to it. This is probably like in the top 3 or top 5 of better Pop Smoke lady songs. I would have to say it's just an overall nice boppish one for just kind of some sugary kind of saccharine kind of ballads as far as that kind of goes. Dreaming is kind of an emphatic drill record. Definitely like this one. It has personality for days, I would say, and it's a new school gem with some flares. So this is kind of one. There's a lot. I'm glad that there's a lot of drill on here, just because this sound really needed to be fleshed out. And I hope folks that want to pick up the pieces to this particular subgenre can capitalize on this, because some of these songs like Dreaming, I feel like Dreaming and Foreigner and Get Back and Shake the Room and Christopher Walken, some of those type ones are just excellent ones overall. But Dreaming is just a very emphatic one. This is just a very just instilled kind of one that just has a lot of personality. And this is probably one of the better. This is definitely an excellent drill song just to kind of have just for discovering about it. This would be a good starting point to kind of mess with drill if you absolutely kind of don't know about it. Armed and Dangerous is an oozing ghoulish beat with vivid degrees of haunt on there, I would definitely have to say, and it's a weekend bop and it's pretty edgy. So this is just kind of one. This is another kind of spooky one, kind of similar to Wolves. Definitely like some of these grim type sounds as far as that kind of goes. This one just has a lot more of like a ghoulish type feel about it compared to Wolves a little bit. That one's more grim, but I definitely feel like these are both some pretty ghostly ones to kind of have. They just kick a lot of ass and they just work extremely well. So I would have to say Element is a nice one. This is kind of dramatic. I like the fact that Pop Smoke kind of has like some medieval kind of blue blood type atmospheres about some of these on here. They just really feel like something that you would catch out of Game of Thrones or something like that with a little bit more medieval elegance about them. I just feel like some of these just have a particular kind of candor about them, particularly Invincible and Element both have these type feels, but I don't recommend Invincible, but I do recommend Element. Element's kind of a dramatic, elegant track. It's a crisp blue blood feel about it and it has a great piano beat with some edge. So this is just an overall nice one. I like this kind of emphasis just because it's just such a dramatic type feel that just pulls it off extremely well. This is just an overall nice one. Get Back is definitely one of this album's best songs. This is one of the album's best beats, I would have to say. Also, it's a paced kind of glaring gem for heavy stunt vibes, I would definitely have to say. So this is just an overall excellent one. It's a crisp and kind of quickie of a song, but I definitely like this one. It's an overall emphatic one. I definitely like the fact that Pop Smoke has some pretty emphatic songs on here, like Element and Wolves, some of those type ones, and Shake the Room. There's just some really good examples of ones that are just really like the cream of the crop as far as that kind of goes. There's definitely some good ones to kind of get, and Get Back is no exception. Foreigner is kind of another nice one. This is a Foreigner's another great one. It's a rickety night bop, I would say. It's a pounding vehicle gem, definitely, and it's great for social lit outing. So this is just kind of one. This is kind of like a more like bass heavy version of like Christopher Walken. I feel like both Christopher Walken and Foreigner are too exact almost. I mean, they're not exactly similar, but they're pretty similar enough to kind of say that they're a good 1-2 punch. Christopher Walken and Foreigner are a good 1-2 punch to kind of have for just like some vanilla drill as far as that kind of goes. I definitely like the bass and just overall thump that Foreigner kind of has. It's just these are some great rickety night bops to kind of have, and they just introduce like the sound that Pop Smoke was trying to develop, and it really pulls it off pretty well. This is just an excellent concept of getting some of these. These are just some for the time. I mean, back in 2020, early 2020s, even nowadays, these are some of the most rickety and just overall emphatic kind of litty type songs that really step out and just have an emphatic kind of time. They just work extremely well. I think that about covers it. So to talk about the 5 songs I didn't enjoy, which was basically just like some of these, like Invincible, like I was saying, kind of has like a real medieval type beat, just really kind of Middle Ages sounding almost, but I just didn't like the approach of that one. Just didn't, the emphasis in the production loop as far as that kind of went was just not quite as catchy to me that time. I feel like songs like Sweetheart and Mannequin were just kind of drill and trap records that just didn't quite pull it off quite as well. They just didn't quite have the extreme execution that they needed. These were just kind of more tense and shrill type ones that just didn't pull out the emphasis as far as they needed to. And then I felt like War was just kind of like a trap kind of record that just didn't really. And I felt like War was just kind of like a muddled kind of trap record that just didn't have enough execution as far as what it was trying to do. That one was just kind of like one of the duller beats on here. It just was quite as emphasized as far as what it needed to be. And then I really kind of felt like the Dior remix with Gunna on there just didn't contribute too much. It was just the same type of song, so it just didn't really have that much further emphasis as far as that kind of goes. So I look after it. Me liking 10.5 songs out of 16. I'm gonna go ahead and give this album like an 8.5 out of 10. It's really that good. There's just some really kind of pounding quality on here that works extremely well. And I feel like Dior, the bonus track, while an almost song, it's good enough. It's not a bad song. It's just a song. It's just a song that's been on other projects. That's basically like the 11th song. So really only disliking 5 songs out of 16 is pretty damn good. So that's, a good quotient of the album to kind of have. So I would have to say 8.5 out of 10. The social score, I'm going to give a 10 out of 10, just because the emphasis of this album, Pop Smoke was a really litty and kind of social, vibrant kind of person that just the execution of what he was trying to do was just a real shame that this was not able to consistently happen and see all the magic that he could have done for the genres of rap and drill and trap and those type things as far as that kind of went. So I definitely feel like you don't get, for the most part, there's not too many cats in like the new school that can kind of outdo Pop Smoke in terms of like the litty kind of social value factor as far as what he had, and especially in 2020 as far as that kind of went. He just was a litty machine in terms of how he did that. So this album definitely gets a 10 social. In terms of the future, that's kind of difficult just because Pop Smoke is deceased. I've reviewed at least Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon, both the regular and the deluxe version. I am eventually going to review Pop Smoke's 2021 album, Faith, or something like that. I think that's what it's called, and then Meet the Woo Volume 1. So there is some more Pop Smoke to review, but this is definitely a pretty good piece of work here to fuck with. So I definitely recommend it heavily.